Hello, everyone. Welcome to another exciting episode of the Heroes Table. I'm Hisha, and
Oh,
joined with me today, I have my co-host Taluyas and Midnight.
hello.
Say hello. Yeah.
Hey, everybody.
um, Excellent. So let's dive right into it. Um, as usual, we have just started with the introductions. Today we will be discussing the Ranger. So it's going to be slightly different than last time, where we usually dive deep into the specific characters. This will be like more of a continuation of the Warriors story, or how the Ranger affects the Warrior story, and we might also get into some deeper stuff on the Ranger. But it's just to say that this story may be slightly different compared to how the deep lore stuff has been on the previous characters. But I'm sure it will be exciting nonetheless. And as always, we will end the show with the Q&A. So if you guys have any questions, you can put them in the chat. You can also ask questions as we go along, but during the Q&A we will be focusing on them. So it's not guaranteed that we will answer questions before that, but we'll definitely be following along in the chat, see if anything comes up. So yeah, the Ranger, take it away.
All right. So yeah, as Hisha was saying, this one's a little bit different because we don't deep dive into background with this one, especially like historical background. This is more of a character interaction story that ties in with the Valkyrie and the warrior. As we talked about in the warrior story, the Danuge the Ranger showed up when he was being attacked by the knights. Well, the Dark Knights, I guess. And she saved him, and we found that she was there, but we didn't know why. And so this story gives us a little bit of background into that. We start out with them fighting against some orcs, trying to save a family and their wagon. And there's some good banter between them that you can kind of feel out their relationship with that, and to see that it's kind of a big sister, younger brother type scenario that's going on. And there's some humor and some philosophy and some just interesting ideas that they chat about after the fight. And then we get to the point where the Ranger goes to sleep, and she has a vision in her dream from the Valkyrie. And we come to find out that this has happened to her before, prior to going and finding the warrior. So that's, the catalyst for her to actually get to the warrior's side, and to, essentially she's tasked with finding him and training him and helping him, I guess, kind of get to his potential. Because the Valkyrie knows, she's been pulling strings around eternity, trying to help put together some people to deal with the problem that we've discussed, with the dark, or I guess what we call them, the midnight. What do you call them? the dumb
Dark Echelon, I think.
The dark echelon was the knights. Sorry, I was thinking of the gods.
Domini
sorry.
Essay.
Oh, thank you. That was
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Domini Esse, which were the life and death gods. So we were dealing with the one that fell to the earth. That's why the Valkyrie was there. And over time, she's been trying to deal with that. And this story kind of brings that to light directly from, character to character interaction. And so, as far as the lore for the Ranger goes, that's as much as we've revealed at this point with the story. Again, I think part of having different authors involved with this, we kind of get a different style of writing, different style of lore interaction, and everybody kind of has their own
Footprint.
feel for that. Yeah, it's like, so I really enjoy writing character interactions and getting kind of into the details of the relationships, whereas like Midnight obviously is just world creator type person that just has all kinds of insane not insane in a bad way, but just like lots of great ideas for world building, and so, and then you can, add in all the rest of y'all that's been helping, and we just have a real eclectic, way of bringing this story together. So it's been fun, and then we all kind of review each other's stories too, and obviously Dirk and Amdal and Hisha. I mean, we all put the effort in, and so it kind of what gets us to here. And so, like I said, there's not a lot of written background for the Ranger. There's some stuff that's been left open to explore as we, go forward with the campaign and the plot through the game. But and if you guys have any questions, I can definitely answer what I've, put together.
Yeah, absolutely. So I enjoy this story because what, like, the stories I've written are like very serious and more historical and stuff, but like similar to the warrior story, like this one is funny, and I really like the ranger as a character, because she adds that levity to the world, that really rounds out and makes it real.
Mhm.
So I enjoy that smartass character. As a smartass myself, I really enjoy that sarcasm, and that the levity that brings to the like very serious stories.
Mhm.
So I just I really enjoyed reading this one because the ranger is just totally unfazed by anything.
Yeah.
One of my favorites is the Valkyrie appearing before her in all her glory, and the ranger's like, come on now, I don't have time for this. I don't have time for this. Come on. Like, where the hell have you been? What's going on? I mean, this ultimate warrior of the god of life. And she's like, come on now.
Yeah.
Get along with it. So it's really a fun read. But we between the warrior story and the ranger story, we don't get a whole lot of who she is, or like her background, her
Mhm.
backstory, her history. All we know is um, she's a smartass, which is great, and she doesn't have time for any like games or grand gestures,
Yeah.
if you will, and she is really good at killing stuff. Um, so I don't know, while you were writing these stories and sort of thinking about her, did you have any thoughts on sort of her background or where she was before she was tasked by the Valkyrie to find and help the warrior?
So, one of the things with this character specifically is that I'm, I mean, it's kind of a cliche ranger character to some degree because I like that um, archetype. Um, you know, raised in the woods, great at tracking, great at surviving, um, taught by others that are also part of that, you know, lineage, I guess. So it isn't necessarily something where like she's not, and what's important is like she's not like the queen of anything. She's not a
Mm.
princess of anything. I mean,
Mm.
she's a surviving woman in the forest. I mean, that's, you know, she has tasks that she takes on when she goes from location to location. Um, Not unlike maybe a Witcher type situation, not to drop the Witcher in there, but I mean, definitely, I'm a big fan of that.
So
The
she's kind of like
stories.
a mercenary in a way. Like she just
Kinda, yeah, and she just has all that background that we would anticipate someone with the Ranger moniker to have. Um, One side point is that, you know, when I write stuff like this, I typically draw from people I know, and relationships. And so, like, this interaction is very much from people that I know. I take, I, I take that stuff because it's real, like it brings a real sense of these are real people, like, because this kind of stuff happens, I mean, maybe not the fantasy side of it, but the way that people interact, this is how people interact. You know what I mean? They're short with each other. They're concerned about each other. They're um, able to protect and care, but also razz. I mean, that's how humans can be very, very often. And so when I was writing this, I was using two people in my life that I know very well. That um, this is just a great. I mean, it's so much content for me to pull from, and obviously I got their permission, so that's wasn't an issue. But just yeah, it's just very fun for me to do this, and then um, to kind of see it kind of just come to life, I guess. So.
Yeah.
So just real quick, we have a question in the chat that asks
Sure.
if Teluvius creates all the lore himself, and the answer is no. We kind of do that together. So some people may write the initial story for a single character or multiple characters, and then we kind of look them over as a team. So one person may have written like a story for a character, and then it's been reviewed by other people and probably edited by other people. But we don't have like one person who writes all the stories like initially, and then they are looked over like that. So different characters can be written by different people. Yeah, I think that answers. You guys can support if you want.
Yeah. So as a group, we have a software that we use to interact together with all of the lore, and so we have this map of what's happening, I guess, like you would consider a normal storyboard, I guess. And everybody just kind of grabs and goes. I mean, that's kind of the whole point of blockchain anyway, right? Is like,
Definitely.
we have, like we're doing this as a group, but together, and like there's no ego here. It's just, hey, do you guys think this is good? Yeah, no, let's change this, let's do that. And with all of us acting together, we just get a better product, I think, than just one person doing it. I mean, we all bring such different skill sets to the, like I'm terrible with grammar and spacing or flowing stuff well, but Heimdall is a master at it. And so I can come up with all of the important stuff that I want and then just throw it at him, and he'll just, shift things around and put it into the flow better, and also work on the grammar part of it because my grammar sucks. But and we just see that when I've helped with some stories, and Midnight's helped, and you helped, and Dirk's helped, and obviously, I mean, it's just been a real good experience. And to have 5 different people from all over that don't know each other be able to just set aside their let's do it my way. I mean, to me, this is like real special, and I think that's what is missing from so much.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think it's been really interesting when one person writes a story and you're like, all right, this is the draft is done. Take a look, and you end up getting like random questions. hey, what if, and that's where like a lot of these great connections come from. Because like when I write, I just like pull stuff out of my imagination or stories that I've read, and it just ends up like this stream of consciousness narrative. Um, and then, everyone from the team will be like, hey, what if this connected there, or this thing did this? And, it really turns a skeleton into a fully fleshed out character world, with these interactions and these interesting connections, that really go beyond surface level. So
Yeah.
it's been really fun to have everyone have these conversations. Just, hey, what if? Throw out your craziest idea, and we'll like talk it through and figure out what works, and then talk to the team about how that impacts the game and the actual gameplay and other possibilities. And it's really like a huge brainstorm. It's been really cool, a really cool process to see and be a part of.
Yeah.
I think we even had some examples of like us writing something and then be like, hey, can you put this in focus in the design of this character or something, and then they just do it. So like we kind of also have some influence on how the game progresses, even though we are not like the main devs, but we have communication with the devs in that way. And I suppose it also works the other way, where they will present something and they'll be like, oh, okay, well, we'll focus on that then. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I can't wait to see, in a chat a couple weeks ago. I think I mentioned this last time in a chat a couple weeks ago. The dev team was like, "Oh, do you have any ideas about more land or whatever?" And I was like, "Well, I have an idea in my head." And they're like, "All right, well, can you describe it or draw it?" And so I jumped into MS Paint for about 5 minutes and made a drawing that my 4-year-old could do better, and I was like, something like this. And so I say that because I'm really excited to see what they actually make with that. And I hope, like, after they release that, we can show this side by side. Like,
Yeah.
this is where it started. This is the toddler drawing in
Yeah.
MS Paint, and this is what the professionals did. So yeah, it's really fun to have that interaction and that influence on the building process.
Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, there's obviously the developers and as you know, North, Alaressa, Prestige, and Nord um, are amazing, and they're constantly, I mean, like daily, hourly, communicating with us about the game so that we can interweave things and make adjustments if something we've done isn't gonna work. And that's, to me, it's amazing because there's, like I said, it's just amazing with so many people and there's just no ego. It's just like getting it done, and making it the best it can be. And it's just real special to be a part of that. I feel privileged. So
definitely.
I did have a quick question for you, Tal, about the Ranger's story. Wanted to circle back on that. When you were talking about, the Ranger sort of being this archetype of the Ranger and the Ranger character and having these skills, you mentioned that she learned them from somewhere. And so, in your mind, are there, is there a whole Ranger population or group that lives somewhere? Is it like a society of loners, or you mentioned her learning from somewhere, so I'm curious, in your mind, sort of how that plays out. Is there this whole civilization and society? Is
yeah,
it a group of super specialized
yeah,
folks that learn and then split apart? Or
yeah. No, you've hit right on it, and I don't want to. I don't. So I've borrowed the idea from a very well-known role-playing game, in that there's a group of rangers that kind of are like a guild.
Okay.
And they interact together, and they have usually they're rolling with the same type of alignment. So they are typically like a chaotic good type, where like they're roaming. They don't really care about the law as much as they care about doing what's right. And so they could just as easily fight against the law of the land as they could an evil character, because it's to them, they live by their own code, and right or wrong, that's their code and that's what they stick to. And if you step outside of that, they're gonna let you know you're wrong, and I think that's important. Just a personal thing for me. It's like it's important to look past laws and look towards people, and that's what these rangers do.
That's cool. That's interesting. I can see that sort of tying in or connecting us to another character that I think fights
Yes.
for what is right, and as we get to his story, I think we'll see where the law of the land is and where he stands. So that's really interesting. That's
A little
great. Thanks
foreshadowing
for
here.
sharing. Yeah.
What's that? Oh, I didn't hear you, Hisha. What'd you say?
I said a little foreshadowing here.
Oh, sorry.
For another character.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, that's where, I got the inspiration from. I've always been a giant fan of that type of group. They operate, from a foundational point of view, like what matters. People matter. Making sure people are taken care of matters. Laws are fine, but if they're counterproductive to people's ability to live and be free, then that's a problem for them. And so they kind of take it upon themselves to be the who watches the watchman. That's what the rangers do in my stories.
So
tie-in.
So in the okay, you can go ahead.
I just wanted to mention that's an interesting tie-in with the warrior story, because we introduced this dark echelon, and usually the knights of the echelon are just and kind, and the they are the law, they are the good law, and the ranger saves the warrior from the law gone wrong, if you will. So I just thought that was an interesting tie-in. Sorry, Hisha.
No, thank you.
No problem.
I actually want to comment on that real quick, if I could.
Yep, go ahead.
So part of that is definitely part of this, because the ranger doesn't know at that point in time that something's wrong with the knights. All she sees is a knight trying to kill a kid. And that's enough for her to be like, whoa, something's wrong here. I'm not going to allow this to happen. And then she finds out, oh, things have gone really wrong. So to her, the law, whatever happened to cause them to want to kill that kid, it didn't matter. Like, he's a child. You don't do that. Right. And so that's what forced her hand to be like, this is not, I'm not going to watch this. I'm not going to sit here and watch this happen. And I'll deal with the consequences later. But I got to do what's right. So.
Definitely.
Or at least what she thinks is right.
So I think you mentioned, or at least I think either Midnight or you mentioned that the ranger was put on this task to keep an eye on the warrior from the Valkyrie, I think it was, or
yes.
So what is the relation between the ranger and the Valkyrie at this point? Do they know each other beforehand? Is the Valkyrie knowledgeable of the ranger before this, or do they just happen to connect randomly, and then the Valkyrie is like, hey, keep an eye on this kid?
So, well, we established that the Valkyrie exists physically and non-physically,
Mm.
and so it allows for some freedom in omni, not really omnipresence, but kind of the ability to see what's happening around the planet on a regular basis because she can just fly around and no one can see her.
Mm.
And so, over the centuries, because she's been there for a long time at this point, and so she's been constantly trying to put teams together to help her. And this is just in my mind, this is just another iteration of another team. Like she's failed before.
Hmm.
And so during that time of, from team to team and the introspection and the learning and the understanding, she's come to try and find certain kinds of people. And so she sees in the Ranger precisely what she's looking for. Somebody that won't be swayed by laws, that won't be swayed by power structures. Like she's going to do what's right based on what she was raised. And so that's why she's involved, is because Valkyrie felt like it was 100% able to trust her, even if the Ranger doesn't like to do it, which you'll get from the story. She does it anyway. And that to me is, really, it makes somebody special, and it creates an intimate connection with that person, because I think we all like to think we could be that person.
Yeah. So what would the relationship between the ranger and the warrior like after this? Do they continue to hang out, or is that kind of it for the ranger and she just moves on and she's like, well, now you take care, and maybe she stays in the shadows, or are they having more interaction from this point?
Sure. So the Ranger all this time has been doing her job that the Valkyries, or the task that the Valkyrie set her to. And she did it without question. She just took care of business like she does. And then this, during this story, we find that she comes back, the Valkyrie does. And so there's a little bit of an interaction there, which boils down to, I did what you asked me to. Can I go back to doing what I was doing? And the Valkyrie was like, no, we're just getting started. Like, I need you to go to the island and talk to the druids, which are we haven't discussed them yet. And that's a story that's coming in the future, that now we're starting to get a grouping where people are starting to meet up, because we have a good group of characters, in our game. And so we're going to find that they come together. And this is just one instance where we go from the warrior to the ranger to the druids. And it's just a collecting, and we'll see this, as more stories come and the game progresses, is like there's a reason why they're coming together, even if they don't all know what that is. And so while the ranger would love to be able to be like, I'm done, I'm going to go back to doing my thing, the Valkyrie says, nope, I need you to keep going because this is important. And I need you to trust me, and we're going to get through this. And so that leads us to the druid story, where we'll see them pop up very briefly. But so yeah, they're, I mean, at this point, Danuja's had Eldred by her side since, for 10 years, I think, is what I have. It's like, that's the space between. And so essentially they're, older sister and younger brother, and she's training him, how to be a person and how to see right from wrong and protect people.
So they do get kind of a closer personal relation after that point, where she's a little bit more hands-on in a way.
So yeah, because I mean, you can see that she doesn't leave him. Like, she's there with him and takes care and protects, but she's also annoyed by him on a pretty regular basis. So
No, of course. That's how it is to have siblings.
Right?
Interesting.
So
Oh, go ahead,
in
man.
this story, I think this is the first character we've seen that has a companion.
Hmm.
Um, and you mentioned the skills that the ranger has learned from the forest and from the other people, and I was curious in your mind. We in the graphic here we have a cat, and that is the ranger's companion.
Hmm.
And I guess I was curious if you think the cat is unique to the ranger, to this ranger, or if other rangers have different companions. Is there something about that companion that says something about the person? I know in some other fantasy and other stories you see animal companions that sort of describe or are metaphors for their owners. Everyone jokes
Hmm.
about every, dogs looking like their owners.
Yeah.
So I was curious if you see other rangers having other companions that sort of um, show their personality trait or who they are, or if the cat is something inherent to the rangers people, and they all have cats that all have their
Oh,
own different
gotcha.
personalities. You see what I'm saying? It's like, if
Yeah.
it's all the same animal, is it different animals? So what do you think about that?
So rangers in general, it's not like a standard thing. I think that like so many of them have different um, things that they're good at, um,
Mhm.
and some of them are good with animals, and some of them aren't. And up until this point in the story, our ranger actually hasn't had a animal companion, um, and there's a reason for that. And the reason is that her attitude towards Eldred has to make sense.
Mhm.
And if she would have already had an animal companion this whole time, adding another companion wouldn't be such a hard task for her. But since she's such a loner,
Mm.
um, adding in the animal later in the story after she spent so much time with Eldred opens her up to a another companion. And so you'll see when you read the story that at the end of the story, there's a cat that ends up being sitting on her lap. It's part of the story. I won't go into all that, but um and she's like, ugh, you know but then she ends up giving it some jerky and takes it with her. And so you see a little bit of a shift in her attitude. And that's the kind of growth is what we're looking for with characters like this. We
Character
want to see
development.
them, yeah, we want to see them, we imagine ourselves in to be the characters we read about, and we want to see them be good so that we can see ourselves be good.
Hmm.
And I use good quote unquote. I mean, obviously that's subjective, but
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Do you have more questions, Midnight, for the story, or? Because I think I've
I don't
run
think
out.
so. No, I think there's a whole lot of really good stuff here. And I think, Tal has given us some really good, additional detail and his
Mhm.
ideas on the Ranger. And I'm, looking forward to sort of exploring that more. I feel like I say that every every episode, but these stories really do lay a great foundation, and I feel like Tal's laid a great foundation here, and given us different places and areas we can, both we as a team and we as a community can
Mhm.
explore as things go on. So, looking forward to publishing that eternity anthology once we
yeah,
have some good stories.
Definitely.
thank you.
Well, I guess now would be a good time to do the whitelist stuff then, before we go to the next
Yeah,
segment. We do have
Absolutely.
quite a few people in the chat now, so I guess now's as good a time as any.
Great. So, like the 2 previous weeks, during this episode and for 24 hours after this episode, you have a chance to get on the whitelist. We call it the Council of Fate if you are not already on the whitelist. And as in the past 2 weeks, there's been a question that I've asked, and within 24 hours of the end of this episode, join our Discord, find me in our Discord, Midnight 703, and DM me the answer to this question. This is a little bit of a longer one, if you will. So this past week, the team gave an AMA. We've posted it on our Twitter, and what I want to know is what feature that the devs discussed during that AMA are you most looking forward to? So join our Discord. You can find it, we'll talk about the links at the end. Join our Discord, find me, Midnight 703, and DM me the feature that you are most looking forward to that the devs discussed during the AMA they held last week.
So kind of an open question this time. There's not a clear-cut answer to this one.
Thought I'd change it up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's good.
On the topic of the AMA, I suppose we can lead the Q&A with a discussion about that. I don't see any questions in the chat right now, so if you guys in the chat have any questions, now is the time that you would ask them, and we'll try to answer as best as we can. And in the meantime, we can try to discuss some of the things that's happened this week. I feel like a lot of things have happened since our last episode and this one. Like a lot of things that the team has been doing. For example, the AMA. I think it was something else as well, but I don't recall what it was. But
we had the someone from Only Up Capital wrote a nice article. A Medium article about us, and is very nice. They did that on their own. We didn't.
I think there were a couple of videos as well, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah, there's a video too. It's very well done as well. I mean, like really good. So
we're definitely starting to get more exposure as well, which is very nice. I don't know how many new people it's brought in yet, but it's nice to see that other people are starting to make content as well, so we can get out there, and I think it's very exciting as well because we've kind of went this product first kind of way, where many other products are marketing first, and then they get a large user base, and then a couple of years later, then they may have a product. Where we have decided to focus on the product first, and then building the community both while building the product. But it definitely, once the product is out, we will go full on marketing to see if we can attract a larger player base.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's important to get a sense of the developers for our game, and I think that says a lot. I mean, we obviously interact with them all the time, and so it's why we're here, why we're involved. But to know that they've put that first instead of oh hey, this is what we might do, or here's some rendered shots. I think we actually have gameplay. Like I played it last night. Like you can play the game, and so it's our on ramp to the game is extremely short, as we're looking sometime in April at this point to actually launch the game. So we're not that far away. We haven't paid. I don't know if we've paid for any marketing. I did a little bit of Instagram, but I'm not sure we've done much of anything at this point. And I know people are like marketing, and I agree. I think we all agree with that, but it's important that we have a product and we have stories behind it and everything to just show we're not full of baloney. This is a real thing. So
yeah, I can't wait to see what happens when more people get access to the game as well, so they can try it out. Not full the full game yet, but just the same access that we have. It's really exciting. It's gonna be exciting to see what how people are gonna react to what is there already, and definitely what is gonna be there. Yeah.
We do have a question from Bigger Portion.
Yes, I was about to go to that. I just
Oh,
wanted
great.
to see if
I'll let
anyone
you-
had some finishing comments. But yeah, Bigger Portion asks, did the team think about staking the heroes maybe once they reach a certain level? And I think the answer to that is there has been considering of staking some heroes. I don't know if there's been considerations for all heroes, but definitely some of the special heroes there has been some considerations. But I don't think we have anything final on hero staking at this point, as far as I know.
That's correct.
No,
Yeah,
so
agreed.
so there's still discussions about whether a certain thing should be like require staking or not, or if a certain thing should be connected to a hero or not. So there's definitely considerations being made, but nothing final at this point.
Definitely lots of discussions, lots of ideas, lots of brainstorming and plans for the future.
So
Yeah.
to kind of make a counter question, do you have any specific things that you would like to see for like hero staking? Like what are you guys' thoughts, like in the chat? What are you guys thoughts on what quote unquote rewards for staking heroes? Like how would staking heroes versus using heroes in the game, like what kind of difference would there be here? What would you use staked heroes for? Kind of the thing. Like why would it make sense to stake heroes? What would you guys like to see? You guys in the chat can think about that.
I'm looking at the white paper right now, and I'm looking at the unique features list, which gives us just kind of a look at, you know, some like the current larger games in our game and what we're trying to offer. And one of the things I wanted to bring up was that removed? Player-owned land future. And the reason why I want to bring that up is because of the insane amount of discussions we've had with how characters are going to potentially be interconnected to land. And I think that the questions you're asking, Big Portion, are you're gonna like, I think, what they end up with in the end.
Definitely.
There's a lot of discussion going on, and it isn't just let's do this, fine, great. It's like, yes, no, why is this good? Why is this bad? Is it going to work? Sustainability is number one for us, and enjoyment of the game. Like those two things have to matter, otherwise nothing else does. So
yeah, we're not trying to make a visual yield farm in this. It kind of has to make sense, and the gameplay also has to be like it is game first, but of course the tokenomics also has to support the game. But yeah, we don't want to just be a visual yield farm. It has to be in harmony, so to say.
Yeah.
It's not a game where the tokenomics are just there because we can put a term on it, like play and earn. It actually it's actually built for that, and that's what we want to make sure that the quality of the product also reflects. So that like we don't want to have a game that could have essentially been a game without the tokenomics in the first place. Like that's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to build a product where game and tokenomics are actually united in a way that makes sense.
Yep.
And I think you'll notice with the in-game economy, with the token system that we have with the game, that the team put as much thought into the economy and how the tokens flow and how they interact and where they go and end up and are used as they did the game. You know, these things, they have to both be a high quality product. Otherwise, you know, it will just turn into a visual yield farm, and it will inflate itself into oblivion, as we've seen with yield farms in the past. if you watch the AMA that I talked about, I think you really get the sense that, at least I, obviously got the sense from talking to the team so much, but from the AMA itself, that they really thought through and debated and argued and talked and brainstormed the game mechanics and tokenomics and how the economy works and how it can be made sustainable, yet still be rewarding for players, because that's the balance, right? We want to make the gameplay rewarding for players, but if you make it too rewarding with nowhere for those tokens and those rewards to go,
Mm.
you end up back at a visual yield farm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We
100%.
the dev team and us as a team have, God, I think I've learned more about play and earn games just from this
Yeah.
team chats, because a new game comes out and we talk about it. We look at it and
Yep.
see, what do we think works there? What do we think isn't going to work there? Pros, cons, and then talk about that in relation to what we built here. And, it might sound like a catchphrase, but we are here to change the game, and that's what this team is working towards. And I think once folks really start playing and interacting with the game, both gameplay and economy, you will see that thought, and that ambition play out.
Mhm. And on the topic of the tokenomics, it's also important because when you design an economy, it's important that both your faucets and your sinks are attractive enough that people are actually going to use them, because you don't want everyone to dump your tokens. But on the other hand, you also don't want everyone to just hold on to the tokens, because again, the game requires that people are actually using both sides of the economy. So there's also that's a huge task in balancing the economy, in that people actually want to use the economy, and also doesn't want to tank the economy, because you actually need people to spend money in an economy. You can't just have people hoarding money, because then the economy doesn't really work. There has
Yeah.
to be a balance of spending and earning.
So that's a great segue into what I think really the innovation that this game's going to drive is the player-driven emissions,
Definitely.
where I don't even know if that exists anywhere else. I could be wrong, but our game is going to have the ability to essentially create equilibrium, from what I understand, so that it's sustainable. So things go up and down based on revenue, people playing. It's all tied together to kind of create that sustainability, which is what's missing so often.
Mhm.
Is you can't, as with any yield farm, you just can't emit more than you bring in. It will not work. It never works. Everyone's ever that's done has failed. Period. It's just like any business. You have to have more revenue coming in than money going out, or you will not make it. And the game on the blockchain are absolutely no different. If you have people just throwing games up that aren't taking into consideration how you got to keep the money flow correct, it is not going to work. Because again, it isn't magic. We've talked about this so many times in our developer chat. It's like none of this is magic. Everything has a base value that's tied to something, and you can't just emit forever, and it just doesn't work. And so we thought, instead of having insanely high APRs, which are going to kill you anyway, what if you had a game that's fun, and on top of that, you got rewarded? Because if the game isn't around in 6 months because it emits itself to death, then you lose all value. Like, why would you invest in that? Why would you pay to play that? It'd be pointless. But I feel like I see it happening all the time, because people are trying to get in at the bottom with NFTs and then sell at the top, and no one cares about the game. And I think that is not good for the play and earn platform.
Also,
Sorry,
before
rant.
we get too much out of a tangent, just to get back on the land ownership, bigger portion also asked any more details about land owning at this stage, and I see you also answered in the chat, but I just wanted to bring it on the stream as well. There's too many discussions going on about land ownership at the moment that it's really difficult to say anything, like even speculate on where it's gonna go, because we want to make like so many things with it, and we just haven't made a lot of final decisions about it yet. So we can't really share many details about it at this time, because it's still very much work in progress. So we'll be sharing details once we have more details and once we are allowed to. But right now, the details are still being discussed very heavily. So yeah, there is no definitive answer or definitive details about land ownership, except it's gonna exist in some way or another.
Yeah,
Good
I think the
question.
interesting thing about this game and the in-game economy is it's so I watched Shrek with my kids recently. It's kind of like an onion. There are layers, right? You have the NFT layer, you have the token layer, you have the stores, you have the auction house and the other mystical forge, and all these layers that are added. And I think as we grow and build, you will see additional layers. You know, and additional complexities that, you know, folks can get into if they want to, but don't have to really expand and make this something for everybody. The other big layer on this that I am absolutely fascinated to see play out is the player driven emissions is fascinating, and then the multi-chain aspect on top of it, where you end up with potentially different prices on different chains with different emissions and different prices on the NFTs as well as the token, and you get all of this interaction in the economy that I have been personally fascinated to see how it plays out, and I'm still trying to really wrap my head around all the different angles and processes and potential and opportunities here.
Yeah.
You know, you could see people that just want to arb tokens back at Glory and Gold, back and forth across, or NFTs. You change, you know, chains there, or stuff like, you know, maybe they play the game some and then do that, and you have all these different areas for different types of players and investors.
Yeah.
That I think things get really interesting.
Yeah, I imagine Eternity is either gonna be arbitrating hell or arbitrating heaven, because there's gonna be so many opportunities for arbitrage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing, I've been having a lot of conversations with the anti-NFT crowd of late because I hate myself. And one of the things that I love about what our developers are trying to do with this game is, if you look at our tokenomics page, the treasury is taking 80% of all revenue. It shows it right on the tokenomics diagram. And 52.5% is going to paired glory, and 27% going to glory buyback. The treasury creates the foundation of the value of not just the coins, but also the NFTs. And I think people I don't have a problem with people buying and selling whatever they want. And I just think it's important to understand that the underlying value of the treasury is what's going to support the value of the NFTs, even if it's not necessarily directly related, because it's the value of the game and what everybody thinks about it that's going to matter. You know, if it's a fly by night, some people will get rich in the first month and then it'll die. But if we play our cards right here, and I think we are, we're building a treasury that's sustainable and is only going to allow us to build on top of it. And so, I think we have really high hopes for this.
Definitely. All right. Do you guys have any final comments? We are nearing the end here, so unless there are other comments that you guys want to touch on, I think we can plug
gonna
our
say-
socials and stuff. Yep, go ahead.
I was going to say a couple things, just because they were questions I got this week in the chat,
Mhm.
and I think it's important. The first one is that the Gen Zero is going to be $1,500 for the whitelist, and it will include 4 random epic characters and 1 special Valkyrie character. And the only way you can get the Valkyrie character is by getting in on the Gen Zero mint. If you want to be in that, the whitelist is how to do it. Our Council of Fate, which we've so named it, easy to get in. Midnight just gave you the opportunity here and in the Discord. Hang out, talk to us, help us spread the word. We really hate whitelist invites. So if we can get enough people to help us with this, we won't have to do that. And I think that's always been our goal, because we want real people who really want to play the game. So that's all I want to say.
Also, some clarification, because that's some questions I've had. Is the the amount of Gen Zero packs, are those limited? Is there a limit on those?
Yeah, so that's a good question. At this moment in time, that we're at 1,500 total whitelist opportunities, and it will be spread between our starting chains. Currently, and this is subject to change, but currently Avalanche, Phantom, and Polygon, because that's in our white paper.
So the 1,500 Gen Zero packs, as well as 1,500 Valkyries. Then is that correct?
Yeah, so that's distributed amongst the chains. So that's the plan, because we will be launching on Avalanche. I think that is a pretty for sure thing at this point. And if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong, not anybody else. But
it's also my understanding that Avalanche is going to be the initial one, definitely.
But what's fun is we've been approached by other chains, and that's all I'll say about that.
Yeah. So like an extension question to that, I guess we can say, you mentioned that it'll be across the initial chains. So is it based on when you were put on the whitelist, when you can buy? Because I imagine if it's split between the chains, then there will be a certain amount available for Avalanche, and there will be a certain amount available for Phantom, and there'll be a certain amount available for Polygon. How do we know how it's decided who gets to buy where, or is it just like first come first serve on this chain? And I assume you can only buy 1 pack for each one whitelist spot.
Yeah. So we haven't got that down 100%. I'm just being honest, but
Yep.
I believe that it will scale down. So like the number of people that jump in Avalanche, there'll be a limit, and once that hit, then they'll be pushed to Phantom probably, and then once that's hit, it'll be pushed to Polygon. But we'll have enough spaces for anyone in the whitelist to get. And since our game isn't chain specific, it doesn't matter what chain you buy it on. So
And it's also worth mentioning that you will be able to transfer stuff between chains as well in the future. I don't know if that will be at launch, but it'll definitely be. I think both the tokens in the game as well as all the NFTs. Even like the Augur NFT, which will be on Polygon, I believe, initially. Like you'll be able to transfer any NFT across, like, to any chain, regardless of where you minted it.
Yeah, and that will, at least the plan is that the ecosystem that we develop, that the game exists in, will be able to deal with all of that. I know that's what they're working on. So you don't have to leave. From what I understand, you don't have to leave the ecosystem. Like, you don't have to go somewhere outside of it to deal with the chain transferring. So
excellent. So we have reached the time where we usually end, and I don't see any new questions, except some questions we can't answer at this time. So do you guys have any any comments before we end it?
Thanks for coming. Appreciate it.
Keep an eye on our Discord. Thanks for tuning in. I think there's a lot more to come. We had a pretty busy week last week, but there's a lot more coming. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
Definitely. So you can find our Discord at discord.gg/EternityRPG. And you obviously already know where our Twitch is. And for you guys watching this on YouTube later, you can find us live at twitch.com/EternityRPG. I think that's roughly how that works. Otherwise, you can definitely join the Discord and look in the links channel. We have all the links there. You can also find us on various other places. I think on Twitter it's also EternityRPG. And I think on Medium it's Play Eternity, or is it also Eternity RPG there? And again, on Discord links channel, all the links will be there, and they will be the correct links. That's the easiest way to find all the links. I wonder if we should set up like a link tree. I know that's popular between some people.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll look into that. Who knows? Interesting. Did I forget anything?
I don't think so.
Oh, the Instagram. You can plot the Instagram if you want.
Yeah, Eternity_RPG. And just trying to get people that aren't bots or promoters to follow the page would be amazing.
So what do we put on the Instagram? Like why should people follow the Instagram?
So almost every day I'm posting new artwork or anything that the dev team gives me permission to put out there, and I'm pretty good about at least once a day at this point. So I think we've got 30 or 32 pictures up so far. So, and I'm usually monitoring that for anybody that's interested in that space. I know there's so many spaces to interact, and it's hard to be on all of them for sure. So
I know we also have many channels on the Discord that is also automatically relaying, like updating when posts are posted on. I know Twitter and I know Twitch. I don't know if we have an Instagram one as well.
It does.
Okay, it does. So yeah, I mean the Discord is basically the collecting point for everything. So you can get like everything in one package on Discord, but definitely also check out the individual platforms as well. Any support we can get anywhere matters, so definitely check that out. Cool. Oh yeah, and the website, of course.
I just thought about that.
Yeah, I'm not used to that being public, so yes, Play Eternity.
Yeah, I know, right?
Definitely make sure to check that out as well if you haven't already, and check it out many times so we get up on those search lists. Or I don't know how that works, but I think the more people visit, the more like the higher it'll rank in search or something. Who knows? PlayEternity.io, definitely also check that out. Cool. Yeah, I think that's the show for tonight. Thank you guys for coming by, and I hope you guys will be returning next week for another exciting episode. So
thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Glory to the holders.
Glory to the holders.